welcome back. Excited to have another tune for you this week. We're at tune number 5 already, so we've got a new reel. This is a reel in E minor called Dunmore Lasses, and it's one of the first tunes I remember learning at the tune learning session that I used to attend when I was going to college. And a friend of mine who, when we started this tune learning session here, said I'd be willing to teach this tune, so she shared it with our group, and so here I am getting ready to share it with you. So Dunmore Lasses is a fairly straightforward reel, and it's in E minor, as I said. It has a standard AABB form. So I'll start with playing it a couple times through. First time a little bit slower so you can hear the notes clearly, and then a couple more times a little more quickly each time, just so you can sort of hear how, as it gets faster, you can add in different ornaments and sort of the feel and flow of the tune can shift to be a little bit more authentic. So here we are, Dunmore Lasses. So there you had Dunmore Lasses, a reel in E minor, and let's go ahead and jump right in and break it down. So we'll start with the A part. So our A part has a fairly typical form. I'll play through it once slowly as you listen, see if you can find that smaller piece form, how the sections repeat, as they have in many of our other Irish tunes. Here we go. Second phrase. Third phrase. Fourth phrase. Beginning. Second phrase. So as you may have noticed, the first and third phrase match, the second and fourth phrase are different. That fourth phrase will come back again in the B part. So let's take a look at the first and third phrase together. It starts on a low E, and there's a couple of different variations you can do with this low E. You could add a roll, or you could go down to the D, or you could do a little bit of a rhythmic variation. And it kind of depends a bit on what instrument you're playing as well, what ornamentation fits well with that. So for right now, I'm going to do the E, D, E, just to keep the notes a little bit clearer. And then if you feel like you have another rhythmic or ornamentation variation you'd like to put in, definitely feel free to do that. So here's our first phrase. It has a little climbing part. So it never skips any notes up to this part. It only goes up and down one note. So we have E, D, E, F, G, F, G, A, B. Let's do that one more time. Ready, and. So that's most of the first phrase, and this little pattern will come back multiple times throughout this piece. So once we get to that B, we jump to the high E. So our notes are B, E, E, D, B, E, E. So that skips quite a bit more than before. Let's try that a couple of times. Ready, and. Go one more time, and then we'll put those together. Ready, and. So let's take that first phrase, and we'll play the first phrase about 3, maybe 4 times through, just circling it so it loops back around. Starting on the low E. Ready, and. Same thing. Let's go 2 more times. One more. So let's put that in a little bit of a context. I'm going to play the whole A part, and I'll call out where the first phrase and third phrase are, and that's where you'll play what we just learned. So it gives you the bigger picture so we don't get lost in all of the little notes and we know where we're going. So here we go, the whole A part, you'll play the first and third phrase. I'll fill in the second and fourth. Ready, here we go now. Now listen. Ready, and. Listen. So we're feeling sort of that bigger picture now with the way the first and third phrase fit in. So let's take a look at that second phrase. It starts very similarly to the first phrase, which again is a really common pattern in Irish music. Is our first phrase. Is our second phrase. So it starts the same, and then instead of continuing up, it lands on the G and holds there for a minute. And then it has a little bit of a twisty part here. So we get our B ready, we landed on the G, is a second part. So let's take a look at that second part a little bit more slowly. We have that long G. When we get to that long G, we'll go to the B. And then we'll go to the A. So it's G, B, G, A. And then we have a little pattern. B, A, G, B, F sharp, B, E. So it has this little bouncy bit. And again, that phrase is going to come back a lot during this particular tune. So let's take that second phrase and circle it around a few times. And then if you need, go back and review those notes. So on our second phrase, starts like our first. Hold on the G, B, G, A, B, A, G, B, F sharp, B. Ready, same thing, go. Three more times. Ready, and. Long A. Let's go two more times. Ready, and. One more time. Ready, and. Alright, let's take our first, second, and third phrase and put them all together. I'll add on that fourth phrase as we did before, just so we keep our A section context in place. So from the beginning, low E, climbing up to the B, ready, and. Then high E, second phrase, that third phrase does have a little bit of a different part than the first phrase. Starts out the same. Then it goes D, E, and it holds up on that high E instead of heading back down to circle us to the second phrase. So let's play that third phrase and then I'll continue on to the fourth phrase and then we'll do the whole A part from the beginning again. Ready? Third phrase, here we go. Here's our fourth phrase. Here's our beginning. Second phrase. To E, then listen. And that was our fourth phrase there. So you may have noticed with the fourth phrase, it ends with this little G, B, F, B, E phrase in there. So that comes back. I said it was going to come back several times in this piece. It starts up. We just finished this. So on that E, we're going to repeat the E to go up. So I have a G natural and an F sharp in there. E, F sharp, G, F, E, F. So let's do that a couple times. Ready, and. Same thing, and. This time we're going to add the D and back to the E. So we have adding two notes. E, F, G, F, E, F, D, E. That much 2 times, go. Same thing, ready, and. So with these, the first E and F sharp are a pickup. And the downbeat is on the G. That just might help sometimes orient our beat a little bit. So we're going to add a couple more notes here. We're going to keep going. All the way down, D, B, G. So if you have some music theory, it's an arpeggio, a G arpeggio going backwards. D, B, G. So let's play what we have so far. The fourth phrase is sort of the twistiest. The nice thing is we learn it now and we'll have it for the B part. So we'll start on our pickup E. Ready, and. Skip to D. Skip down, skip down. So an arpeggio is just, it skips every other note within a chord. Or it plays the notes in a chord broken instead of in one sound. Let's keep adding on to that. We go back up to the A. So here, there you can hear different variations of this a little bit. We're going to stick with this one. A, B, C. So they're all neighbor tones in there from the A going up to the C natural, back down. Then we have our G, B, F sharp, E, E pattern. So let's try the whole fourth phrase. Here we go. Times. Ready, and. Last time, and go. We're ready to put the entire A part together. So if you feel like you have most of the notes, maybe that sort of 85% or more of the notes, I'd really encourage you to go ahead and continue on with the video and play through the A part. We'll circle through it 4 or 5 times, each time getting just a tiny bit faster. The reason is as you play it several times in a row, oftentimes those little bits that you're missing fall into place. Because you have that big picture, you can put in the little details and it makes sense. If at the end of playing this through a few times there's still a few notes that you're missing, then go back in the video and review those pieces so you can get those details in place. So here we go, our A part for Dunmore Lasses. we'll play about 4 or 5 times, starting on our low E. Not too fast now, here we go. So there we have our A part. If you're still unsure about a few of the notes, kind of make that judgment call. If you feel like maybe it's good to let that rest for a minute or two before you come back to it, move on to the B section, go make yourself a cup of tea, go whatever it is you like to do, and come back. Or maybe it's good to get it right now while it's fresh in your head to go back and review some of those notes. So feel free to move how you need to through these videos. Alright, let's move on into the B part now. So the B part, as is fairly standard with many Irish tunes, borrows sections from the A part, little pieces and melodic phrases that come back. So we'll play through it once and listen for those patterns that you know from the A part, as well as any emerging patterns from the B part. The B part starts up on a high G. Second phrase. Third phrase. Fourth phrase. First phrase. Second phrase. Third phrase. have our B section for Dunmore Lasses. So you may have noticed that it pulls a lot from the A part. You may also have noticed that the first, second, and third phrase really, while they borrow from each other, nothing is an exact copy. Everything has its own little variations. Our fourth phrase, though, does come straight out of the A part to repeat itself. So let's start at the first phrase of our B section. So it starts on a high G. And particularly the second half of it, you should recognize from the A part. That part there starts on the B, B, E, E, D, D, E, E. The part leading up to that, the first part of the first phrase, is almost all neighbor notes. There's very few skips in here. So it starts on the high G. So down to the E and back up. So then we have our F, E, D, and then it skips to the open A before doing that part from the A section. So we'll take that, we'll circle it around a few times, just the first phrase. Ready, and. Skip to A. Same thing again. Let's go 2 more times. One more time. Listen to the second phrase. So it starts very similarly to the first phrase. Except instead of going to the A, it goes to a B. First. So it has this little fork in the road that we have to remember whether we're going to the open A or if we're going to the B first and then to the open A. So listen to that one more time and then we'll break down the second part. This first part's from the first phrase. Same to there. B, A, B, A, G, E, E. So let's just take a look at that second half. We have the D, B, long A, B, A, G, down to low E. Let's do that one more time. Ready, and. Okay, let's take our second phrase and circle it around a couple of times, starting on the high G. Ready, and. Times. One more time. Let's put that together with the first phrase. So we'll play the whole B part. You'll do the first and second phrase. I'll keep going in that third and fourth phrase just so we can kind of get that big picture idea back in our heads since we're breaking these down into such little bits to start. So first phrase, here we go, starting on the high G. Ready, and. Down to A. Second phrase. B first. B, A. Listen here. Then our fourth phrase, if you want to play it, go ahead and join in. Ready, and. Fourth phrase. So we've got 3/4 of our B section. We have one more part to learn, and it borrows a lot again from the previous sections. Biggest difference is it starts in the high G again, but it does a little roll or a little rhythmic thing here. So I'm taking my G, going up a note, and rolling around it. You could also do some rhythm. If you're using a flute or a whistle, you could do cuts and taps there. If you're using a banjo, you could do some rhythmic things with the plectrum. So it's really up to you. We just need to make sure that it lasts the full length of the space. So that second part borrows from the third phrase in the A part. So we only have basically one little note, and that's our F sharp roll. G, then we take the F sharp and we do the same sort of rhythmic variation or ornament. And it goes down to the open A. A. And then it has the from before. So let's take that around. We'll only go maybe 3 times on this one since a lot of this is review. Ready, high G, rolling, go. Roll on F, open A. Same thing, ready, go. Last time, ready, and. So now we have our whole B section ready to go. So if you feel like you've got most of the notes, again, so that 85% or better, go ahead and move on and let's roll that B section around a few times. And if you feel like there's still a few notes or more than just a few notes that you need to work on, back up the video and take another look. Alright, let's get into the B section. We'll play through it about 4 or 5 times as we did with the A. Each time we'll go a little bit faster to build that fluency in our playing. So starting on the high G, first, second, and third phrase in this one all start on that high G. Ready, and. Second phrase. Third phrase, roll. Fourth phrase. Awesome. So hopefully that B section is feeling fairly solid. If not, feel free to go back and come review the notes before we continue on. Let's talk really quickly about the ending. So we have this little and I've heard a lot of different variations with this, particularly when it comes to what happens when you repeat a section. Sometimes this little pattern leads really well. If you're repeating into the A section, it works really, really well. If you're going into the B section, so the last time when we have this pattern, when we're going from the A part to the B part, or when we're circling, repeating the B part, sometimes it's a little bit awkward. So sometimes there, instead of doing the jumping pattern and trying to get up there in time, sometimes it's nice to do a little variation. We'll do if I do the fourth phrase. And just to simplify it, so I'm doing an A, B, A, G, E, E, and then I'm... gives me a little bit of a space. So if you're playing a wind instrument, it gives you a chance to breathe. It gives you a chance to move to wherever your fingers need to be on your instrument for that high G. So it just gives a little bit more of a lift, a little bit of a moment of silence in this tune, which is kind of nice to have. So as we repeat the tune as a whole, you may hear that happening, because I oftentimes will do that. Again, especially as I'm leading into a B section. So if I'm going back into an A part, that bouncing G, B, F, B, E works really well. But if I'm not, that's when I do, if I'm going into the B, I simplify that down and give myself a little bit more space at the end. So I think we're ready. We'll play through the whole tune. We'll do it 3 times. The first time we'll do fairly under tempo. Second time we'll kick it up just a little bit, and third time we'll bring it up a little bit closer to what might be a session speed or a performance speed. So here we go. Dunmore Lasses, whole tune. Our A, A, B, B is our overarching pattern. Ready, and... Alright, congratulations on all of Dunmore Lasses today. I hope you're feeling confident about adding that one to your repertoire of session tunes. And again, feel free to go back, of course, and take a look at any of those sections you need. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them down below in the boxes. And if you have any requests for tunes, we're happy to take some requests. If there's one that you'd like to learn, that you'd like to have broken down, again, just stick it down in the comments there, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. So hopefully we'll see you in a session sometime. Enjoy the music.